Hey there, how y'all doing? This is Data, not quite yet back on trail. I'm out on a day hike in this video with Mrs. Data at Starved Rock State Park. Um, and I want to cover a few of the things that I learned about myself as a hiker during my first 19 days of my 2025 Appalachian Trail thru-hike flip-flop style. So the first thing is that I learned is I really had to think differently and systematically about my meal planning and about eating while on trail. I learned this from a 2020 class of 2020 thru hiker named Summoner. I think at the Bear Fence shelter, or hut, but I'm not sure. And this includes trying to eat healthier, but most importantly, it includes not eating a great big breakfast, but eating throughout the day. Summoner pointed out that it's a different activity, long distance hiking, than say when I was running 5Ks. That is, I'm not burning through a lot of energy in a short time frame. It's more like I have my internal physiological furnace on a low boil for the whole day. So I need to be feeding it calories consistently throughout the day, but not necessarily overloading myself with a lot of calories at traditional meal times like breakfast or lunch or dinner. So a summoner encouraged me to think about stuffing a couple of thousand calories or 1,000 calories or so in my side pockets on my backpack, and then try to eat a couple of hundred calories an hour or so, to where by lunch I was up to 1,000 or 1,500 calories. By 2 or 3 o'clock, maybe 2,000, and then at the end of the day, another 1,000. It gets you up around 3,000 calories, which is probably about what I need to be eating through the course of a day. And I need to make the calories healthier, so I'm going to watch. My food choices were not great this time around. Some of the stuff had some maltodextrin and too much sugar in it, and things like that. So I'm going to try to eat healthier also, which I'll cover a little bit in my gear video, because I'm changing some other things about how I'm hiking. So when I'm hiking, I have learned a couple little things for myself. That is, it's instead of trying to walk faster and pick up my pace when I get to level ground or when the path gets very cruisy, it's actually easier for me and more enjoyable if I just lengthen my stride. So on some of my videos, you might have heard me use the phrase putting a foot under it. And I don't know where I got that, but when I say that, I mean I'm trying to lengthen my stride a little bit, but not speed up the pace of my steps. It helps me because I cover more ground that way, but I'm not actually ramping up my heart rate, my cardiovascular exercise. And it also, there's some certain amount of confidence required in that the ground really is level or smooth and kind of cruisy, or I'm not going to want to lengthen that stride as much. It also, I learned it was really important for me to get an early start. If I can get on trail before 8:30 and preferably before 7, even if I walk really slowly initially and just kind of lollygag along for the first half an hour, by 6:30 or 7, I'm up to a regular hiking pace and the day still hasn't warmed up. There aren't bugs out, there's not a lot going on trail yet, and I can just cover a lot more ground more easily if I get that early start for me. And I'm an early riser at home, so this didn't surprise me a lot. I just hadn't thought about it on trail. I was kind of, on the cold mornings especially, kind of struggling to get myself out of the sleeping bag, and I don't think I'll have that much of a problem with that part of it in May. But I am going to try to rise earlier and get hiking right as the sun comes up. I really enjoy that early morning hiking time, right at sunrise. Additionally, I learned that taking breaks is really critical for me. I have to stop every couple of hours and at least sit for a minute. I need to stop every 5 miles or so and take a pack off, shoes off break to hydrate and to load up on some calories. But also, in addition to physical recovery, I need that time, it feels like, so that I can look at the plan for the day again, and I can kind of emotionally and psychologically adjust to how my day's gone. On the days when hiking is going fine, it didn't seem as important. I didn't really need to do that. But if I'm struggling, if the course has been more uphill than I expected, or if it's rockier, or if I'm just not comfortable with something, then I can get emotionally and psychologically frustrated. And I mean, that's not why I tripped and fell necessarily, but it probably didn't help. And the mental part of hiking is actually much more challenging, I'm finding, than the physical part. And I know watching YouTube videos, other folks had said that. I just didn't really believe it or understand it fully until I experienced it. So definitely the mental game is absolutely as hard as the physical part of hiking. So along that, I really learned I needed to treat through hiking more like a job than like just a casual walk in a state park on the weekend, like I'm doing here with Mrs. Data. Through hiking is not just a casual Sunday walk in the state park. It takes a lot more systematic effort for that in terms of staying organized in the morning and in the evenings and thinking about your day more systematically, for me at least, in order for the whole experience to be effective and enjoyable and efficient. So I'm going to treat it, so I started treating it kind of like a job, not in a negative way, but in a, having a schedule to my day and planning things out a little bit more like a grown-up than what I had done previously, where I was initially just kind of going for a walk in the park. So that includes things like I'm trying to do a better job of being organized at camp and inside my tents, so that I'm not wasting time looking for one thing or another just because I don't have everything in a place and a place for everything. To the same extent, it's important for me to plan out the following day's hike the evening before. Not so much exactly where I'm going to end up. It's actually good if I have 2 or 3 options for where my day will end up. But at least it's important for me to have an idea that if I'm having a tough day, I can stop at, say, 8 miles, and that's okay because there's campsite number 1, and there's camp location number 2 at 10 or 12 miles. And if I'm having a really good cruisy day, maybe there's another campsite I'll shoot for that's 15 or more miles down the road. But not to get myself wedded to any one of those particular outcomes. And then I can just play it by ear as the day goes along and relax and enjoy my through hiking, while at the same time not putting too much pressure on myself to get to a certain location on a certain schedule by the end of the day. I have also quit finalizing videos on trail or trying to upload things. I really got to where it was annoying to try to work on videos in my tent in the evening, so I just review what I've shot each day now, and I edit a few things out if there were completely wasted clips or things I know that I won't want to show. But I don't worry about saving that to my hard drive, and I don't worry about putting in titles or finalizing things or anything like that. There's plenty of time when I get to a town day to do that, as long as I've got the videos basically in the right order and ready to go. But I found it frustrating to try to work on videos in my tent, and I found that it burned through my battery bank too quickly, and it just wasn't fun. So I've quit doing that. I learned for myself that I don't like 0 days. I'm going to try to do Neros instead of zeros from now on. I just found there wasn't enough to do on a 0 day. There's about a half a day worth of town day kind of chores to be done in terms of resupply and showering and laundry and those kinds of things. But after 4 or 5 hours at a hostel or at a hotel, I just got bored to tears. And then also the zeros don't average well, so then I feel like I've wasted half a day. I took 3 0 days on this first 19-day hike. One of them was warranted because it got extremely cold. But the other 2 were honestly just a waste of time. If I had timed the resupply box better at Bear's Den, and if I had not been such a chicken about the weather at Manassas Gap, each of those 2 times I could have hiked another half a day or so and still done the resupply and still had a Nero day. But I would have felt better about it, and it would have been more enjoyable because, frankly, 0 days are just boring as can be. I've also learned it's better for me to carry more water earlier in the day. So in particular, if the water sources are a little uncertain early in the day, I'll often now carry 3 liters instead of 2. It adds a couple of pounds, but I drink that first liter in the first 5 miles of the day, so it's only a couple of pounds for a couple of hours. And that just means that if I run into plenty of water, I don't have to worry about refiltering more water But if I don't, I have enough water to get myself all the way to camp. Speaking of camp, I have these specific steps I've developed when I get to camp that help me stay organized that I picked up in conversations with a couple of guys from central Pennsylvania. And real quickly, it's that when I get to camp, I pick a campsite or a shelter spot. I just make that decision and set it down. And then I fetch water, 3 liters, so that I have enough for dinner that night and breakfast the following morning, and sometimes even enough to get started on the next day. Then I erect my shelter, my sleeping pad, and my sleeping bag, change into my sleepwear. Then, after I've done all that, I eat dinner. And then, by then it's gotten dark, if I've done it about right, so I use my tent light while I sit and do my planning for the day after all this other stuff is done. Then lastly, I arrange everything in my tent into some kind of an organized fashion. I'm still working on exactly what that fashion is, but it helps if I have the same things in the same place every night, just like I do when I'm at home. And that's something I actually picked up from another weekend section hiker where we talked about this at a shelter. And then lastly, I learned that from a friend after I fell down, that the not so secret about hiking the Appalachian Trail is that we all fall down. And sometimes when we fall down, we get hurt. Age, I have figured out, makes these 2 facts more likely, more frequent, and more serious in their possible impact. So, in addition to the things I need to be more serious about in terms of planning for my hike, I also need to be a little bit more serious about the safety side of things and not push my pace and try to relax and enjoy my hike. And hopefully that's going to come through on the videos you all see when I head back out here on May 1st. So with that, I just want to say happy trails to each of you.